Hello, chess friends, and welcome to Jozarov Chess Channel, and welcome back to our best chess games of all time series. So in this series, we're following the best of the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history. And today, I wanted to show a really brilliant game back from 2003 between the former world champion Vishy Anand against Viktor Bologan. The game was played in Dortmund, in Germany, in the so-called Sparkassen tournament, and this game was suggested to me by one of my viewers. I wanted to thank him also through this video. I've seen this game before, but I've never decided to cover it. But now, when you have suggested it, I wanted to cover immediately because it's actually one of the best games played by Vishy Anand, with some immortal tactics, decoys, deflection, double attacks, pawn breakthroughs, with all of these elements that we love to see in the game. Be prepared. This is really some brilliant chess going on. So here Vishy opened with the move e4, Bologan responds with the move c6. We have the Caro-Kann defense, d4, d5, and after knight to c3 we have d takes e4, still the normal variation of course. After knight to e4 we have now the so-called Karpov variation with the move knight to d7. This is actually a pragmatic idea by black, because if you play knight to f6 immediately, okay, nothing grammatically is going on, but after knight takes f6, maybe e takes f6 or g takes f6, black has already a weakened pawn structure. So that's why black plays first on this idea to play the move knight to d7, and now after something like maybe bishop to d3, you see still you can play knight to f6, and if white wants to take now knight takes f6, then still of course you can recapture with this other knight without messing up your pawn structure in the continuation of the game. But here after move knight to e4 and knight to d7, Vishy had a different idea in mind. He plays now the move knight to g5, which is a very provocative move. I like to call this kind of moves really provocative moves, because it's obvious that this knight cannot be tolerated through the whole game on that square on g5. So but the problem is now, if you play h6 or f6 ideas in order to kick away the knight, maybe there are not so immediately some tactics going on, but in long terms you don't want to play actually this move. If you play h6 or f6, then you weaken the pawn structure, the light squares in front of your king. So that's why this move in the continuation of the game, I think, would cause many problems for black. Bishop to d3, and as we said, if you weaken the pawn structure too much, you could be vulnerable to some tactics on light squares. So here in the continuation of the game, knight to f6 played by Bologan. So Bologan plays now a calm game. Here bishop to d3 by Vishy, and now we have e6, normal ideas, and now knight to f3, normal development by both players. Here in the continuation of the game, Bologan plays also normal move, bishop to d6. You see now, if you play, for instance, let's see, possible continuation, if you play h6 immediately, actually there is an immediate tactic possible. Here knight takes e6, after f takes e6 we have bishop to g6, and now the king has only one square. But now with bishop to f4, it is probably not one of these tactics in which white has an immediately winning sequence, but it's really a weird position now for black. Black has this endangered king on e7. In the continuation, maybe black could attack the bishop on f4, then maybe bishop to g3 can happen, and now there is even a threat of bishop to h4 in the continuation of the game. And now I think queen to e2, even queenside castling, then maybe rook to e1. I think white will find a way to activate all of the pieces, and the king on e7 is, I think, dead here. So I think a sharp attacker like Vishy Anand will for sure find some great attacking opportunities, and I think would have a comfortable game. So the engine gives here already a +1 position for white, although white is down a whole piece. So really wild stuff. So sometimes when you face this kind of position, maybe you should consider at least the possible tactic around the square e6. Maybe it's not possible, maybe it's possible sometimes, but at least consider it, because I think maybe you can surprise your opponent and win games very easily and very effectively in the Caro-Kann defense. So here, as we said, bishop to d6. So Bologan didn't play the move h6, which we said would cause many problems. Here queen to e2. Vishy Anand is preparing now bishop to d2 or bishop to e3, and then queenside castling, as we said. This is now already an open game, and whenever you face such an open game, you see there are always some dynamics possibilities with c4, then even with d5, c5, and similar ideas. Whenever you feel that the position is dynamic and open, you should be really careful. You should place your pieces towards the center. You have to occupy the center with your pieces, because pawn moves could be really dangerous moves. Now in the continuation, Bologan tries now the move h6, and now this knight to e6 could again work. After f takes e6, again bishop to g6, but it's now, I think, a different position in which black has already played with the bishop. The bishop is now playing a very important defensive role, and now I think when the queen moves with king to e7, king to f8, queen to f8, then the king king could escape to d8, maybe then to c7, and white would be in serious trouble. But there are positions, there are games in which these tactics have been played before, so as said, maybe it's time somehow to surprise your opponent. But now in the continuation of the game here, Vishy played a normal line with the move knight to e4, Bologan takes, knight takes e4, we have queen to e4, and now queen to c7 played by Viktor Bologan. Knight to f6 is also an opportunity maybe to kick away the queen, but after queen to e2 the position has not improved here for black, I think, and it's not getting worse for white. The queen is still on a natural square, still with great attacking opportunities here on the e file. Now I think in the continuation here, after castling bishop to d2, maybe now queen to c7, and now queenside castling would be a possibility here for white, and it would be a very sharp line of the Caro-Kann defense, where the king is on the queen side and black's king is of course on the king side. We would then have this opposite side attack game where probably it would be time even for white maybe to sacrifice one pawn with g4 just in order to open maybe the g file, and with the activity of both of these bishops, then white could have a really sharp attack. So as said, after move queen to e4, queen to c7 played by Bologan, he decided to stay a little bit longer with the king in the center. He wanted to see probably where is Vishy going to castle, because he didn't want probably to play this opposite side attack game, this opposite castling game, because we have seen that I think in that particular scenario that white would be simply slightly faster and would attack black's king much easier. So now queen to c7, the delaying idea, and now after castling here, Viktor Bologan tried the move b6, trying of course bishop to b7, and then to break the position with the move c5. So here Vishy realizes this tactical problems, plays now the move queen to g4, and here the fun already starts. So Viktor Bologan, it's really incredible, should have played the move king to f8. King to f8 is the only move I think that is defending this position for a while, because you don't want to castle, of course. Castling is a suicide because you get simply bishop to h6, so you have to resign then. But it's actually really possible to play here the move king to f8, and that's actually the only good move here for black. But Viktor Bologan wanted to play a sharp line. He played now the move g5, and here Vishy plays simply queen to h3, and now rook to g8 here by Viktor Bologan. He's threatening now here the move g4. In the continuation of the game, Vishy played now a really brilliant move, because he played now the move rook to e1. If you play now g4, the game becomes really wild. Really wild stuff what's going on now, because you have now queen to h6, g takes f3 is here a possibility for black, but now you get this stunner, rook takes e6, and you see now how much problems you can get if you don't play this move knight to f6. So that's why still this idea maybe to play the move knight to f6 and kicking away the queen to e2 would be much better maybe for black. Now after move rook takes e6, you see f takes e6, we have queen to e6, maybe you can cover, but still you see white can also take out the rook now on g8. You can maybe cover with the knight, but now I think we can play g3 or even take out the pawn. Still it's a risky position for both sides. Of course white has lost a piece, but here with these two connected pawns on the king side, and with the activity by both of these bishops, with the activity of the queen, I think that white has a comfortable game. So for instance, in this position also the engine gives a +1 position here for white. Really wild stuff, although down a whole piece. So here after move rook to e1, so you see Bologan didn't play the move g4. He tried now bishop to f8 to get more pieces into the game, and now queen to f5 here by Vishy Anand. He wants now to find the best next attacking square. Whenever you feel that you're on the attacking side, you are basically asking yourself this question: where is the best next active square? Where should I maybe find new activities? I think when we play chess, we forget about these new squares on the board, because we would probably, a passive player maybe like me or someone else, would play something like bishop to d2 and similar stuff, or maybe try to retreat first with the queen, then try to play maybe even queen to g3 or similar ideas. But not Vishy Anand. He plays now really the best next attacking move. He plays now the move queen to f5. In the game, bishop to g7 was played. We have h4, breaking now this advanced pawn structure here on the king side. We have king to f8, but this move comes a little bit too late. Here Vishy Anand retreats simply queen to, with the move queen to h3. If you play now rook to e6, it's of course not good. You get simply knight to f6 or knight to c5. It's really dangerous because you have both of these pieces on light force, then you probably lose the rook. So that's why here queen to h3, first play by Vishy Anand, and we have now rook to h8, we have h takes g5, we have h takes g5, and now queen to g4 here by Vishy Anand, and now comes c5. Here Viktor Bologan is finally trying to open the position. He has of course the lack of development here on the queen side. The bishop hasn't played so far. The rook is not participating in the game, so probably now with bishop to b7. Here Viktor Bologan hopes for a good game. In the continuation, Vishy takes bishop to g5. Bologan also takes, c takes d4, and now rook from a to d1. I really like this move. Probably many of us would consider something else, but not again Vishy Anand. He knows how to attack this kind of positions. He gets all of his pieces in the attack. So as I said, there are maybe other possibilities, but here Vishy shows basically his great knowledge in chess. He plays first the move rook to d1, and look at this setup. Basically the pieces are on the best course. The bishop is active, the queen is active, the knight is active, the bishop here on d3 is active. Both of these rooks are really on wild file, so it's probably game over here for black. This is really a storm that's coming. You see now how these pieces are really all over the board. They're having basically the best activity now, and basically from this point on, it's a one-way ticket here. After move rook to d1, bishop to b7 played by Bologan, and now comes the stunner here. Vishy sacrifices the rook for the exchange. Rook takes e6, f takes e6. We have bishop to e7, the deflection motif. King takes e7, queen takes g7. You have only one good square here, king to d6. But now knight takes d4. Here there are even some tactics on the d file. You see the king gets decoyed here towards the rook. So that's why you see how important it was to activate also this other rook to get it on the d file. Probably Vishy Anand didn't calculate all of this, but there are really these moves that you have to feel. I think you have to play with all of your pieces in the attack. That's actually a great example here what Vishy did, playing with all of the pieces in the attack. After move knight to d4, here queen to c5, and now a new stunner by Vishy Anand, bishop to f5. Really wild stuff here. Whatever you do, if you play e takes f5, then you get knight to b5, the discovered attack. But there are also some other opportunities for Vishy, but this is a really cool continuation here. After move knight to b5, you could maybe play king to c6, but now you get simply checkmated with queen to d7. If you escape here to e6, it's nothing better. Here queen to d7, maybe king to f6, but now rook to f6 is again simply winning the game for white. So after move bishop to f5, Bologan decided to play it here and move queen to e5, but now knight to f3 with the discovered attack. We have queen to d5, queen to g3 here by Vishy, king to e7, rook takes d5, bishop to d5, queen to g5. Whatever black does, it simply loses the game. Of course, here we have king to d6 now again, and to check, king to e7, bishop to e4 here. Vishy is of course trying to stay with his pieces on the board. We have rook to h5, knight to h4, threatening also some ideas of knight to g6 here. In the continuation, we have rook to g8, knight to g6. Finally, we have king to d8 here by Bologan, and now queen to f7. Very nice move. And here after rook to e8, here after move bishop to d3, in this position Bologan resigns. So the problem is this move, of course, we can play knight to f8 here, then also play bishop to b5 first, something, then knight to f8 is also the threat. Queen to f6 in the continuation. So bishop to b5 is, I think, the main move now to simply get rid of this very annoying knight, because the knight is now the key protector of the king. So in this position, as we said, Viktor Bologan resigned. But let's go back to the critical moment. This is really wild what happened. This move rook to e6. You don't have a clear idea. I think you don't have an immediate checkmate threat, but here after f takes e6, queen to bishop to e7 first, then queen to g7, and now the king gets really endangered. The knight takes here, and here it's the weak square on e6. Also the d file is very dangerous. So as we said, after the move bishop to d3, Viktor Bologan resigned. So brilliant stuff by Vishy Anand. I really enjoyed this game, and I wanted again thank you for suggesting me really brilliant stuff. But I think Viktor Bologan was really a great player. Still he is a good player, but it was actually Viktor Bologan that was winning the tournament. He was the winner of the Dortmund Sparkasse in 2003, and among also other great players, for instance Temur Rajabov played in the tournament, that young Temur Rajabov. It was really wild in 2003. If you don't know, Temur Rajabov also crushed Garry Kasparov in the famous French defense game. So it was a really cool tournament. Viktor Bologan was the winner of the tournament, but Vishy Anand played the game of the tournament. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. If you want to see some other games from my best chess games of all time series, here's the playlist of the best chess games that were played in chess history. And if you want to see maybe the best chess games played by computers, check out my best chess games played by engines. Here's also the link of our playlist. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.